What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Hope you guys are all having a great weekend so far. Today's video is going to be a one-year update on my 2016 Mercedes-Benz AMG GTS. I made a video recently and a lot of you guys just wanted a one-year review on it in terms of like my overall thoughts, some of the biggest expenses that I've had, which I've had quite a bit for just only owning this car for 1 year. I'm also going to be talking about my favorite things about this car and then obviously my least favorite things about this car. It's a very good time for me to film this video because I actually do plan on listing this car for sale. I've owned it for just under a year now and used car prices are absolutely insane. I feel like I got this car at a really good price and it would just be stupid for me to not try to list this right now and see what I can get for it. I'm not 100% certain that I will sell it, but if I get the price that I want or around the price that I want for it, I will sell it. And I do not plan on going into, or at least immediately into, another high-end sports car or supercar, if you want to call it. I recently bought a 2021 Tesla Model 3 for the purpose of it being my daily driver, but with used car prices just pretty much at their absolute max right now, it's just I gotta try to list this car and see what I can get for it. I've absolutely loved it. I'm gonna break down purchase details, some reoccurring expenses like my monthly expenses, insurance, all that. We're gonna talk about some of the repairs or maintenance, which I know you guys are excited for, and then obviously the biggest issues, annoyances, and then lastly my favorite parts about this car. We'll probably do some clips of some noise clips as well and some B-roll shots, so I hope you guys enjoy. I purchased this car August 31st, 2020. By the time you guys are watching this video, I'm sure that's like a week or two away, so I think that's close enough to having it for a year. I purchased this car out the door from Mercedes-Benz of Scottsdale for $77,365. That included the taxes, the city taxes. I didn't pay the state tax. I actually registered this car in Oregon. And what else did I have to pay? I don't know if I paid, I paid a $500 dock fee, I think, which there's no way of getting out of that. They had this car listed for like $78,900, I think, and I ended up getting them down to $75,000. And after all those expenses, we ended up walking out at $77,365. Looking at this car right now, like the current value, if I did not put 10,000 miles on it, if it still had 30,000 miles with the amount of basically the sticker price or the MSRP of this car, I can probably get close to $92,000 out of it. So looking back at it now, I did get a great deal on it, and it just goes to show what the used cars are doing right now. So it's like, why not try to sell it? So I put $37,365 down. The reason why is just because I wanted a flat loan of $40,000. My loan is, let me actually pull this up real quick right here. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible in this video for you guys. So I did get my loan through Chase. They originally started me out at 6% interest, which now I have 4.4%, but I basically told them to kick rocks. I'm not paying 6%. And then my principal balance as of this month is just under $34,000. So I already paid this car off by about $6,000. And my monthly payment is $746.02. I bought this car with 30,000 miles and I now have 41,000 miles thanks to a couple back and forth trips from Los Angeles to Arizona. And I also daily drove this car for just about 10 months of owning it. I sold my previous car and then I didn't get my Tesla until the other day. So there's a lot of unneeded miles for sure. Recurring expenses, $250 a month in gas is about what I spent. I just fill it up about one time a week and it was anywhere from like $60 to $65. $118 insurance. It's extremely cheap for this type of car, but my deductibles are extremely high. $746 monthly payment. Now here's what you guys want to see right here. This is what a lot of people are asking me about, how much this car has actually cost me in a year of owning it. I did one oil change. I probably need to go get another one soon, $250. The most recent problem I had with this car, I don't know why I'm holding a pen, is a rear axle shaft replacement. I took it in about a month ago and because of a weird smell. So what ended up happening is, or they at least diagnosed it, there's a crack in the rear axle shaft and oil was spilling from that down to the exhaust. And when the exhaust actually heated up enough, it would make the smell of burnt oil. So I took it in and that's what they diagnosed it at. That was a $2,305 replacement. Here is the actual invoice that I got for it if you guys are interested in screenshotting it and looking through it. It was $2,157 and then I add my obviously taxes onto it. So that was the second biggest repair that I've had on this car. The biggest one I'll talk about in a little bit. I did one service charge just for taking your car into Mercedes-Benz, even if they don't do anything to it, just to take it in and for them to kind of like diagnose it or look at the car is $175. If you do go through with the repair through them, they'll use that 175 towards a credit of actually the replacement or the repair, whatever it may be. But I went one time where I actually didn't have them replace it, and that cost me $175. They gave me a rental car for an entire week, which was great, for $20. And then I had a flat, I had a flat tire essentially. There was a little hole in it from a nail. That cost me $15. I did want to add in absolutely everything, so even though that's a really small expense, I did want to add it in. Now the biggest problem, not only in this car, but any car that I've ever owned, this problem that I had with this Mercedes actually cost me more than my first Scion TC as a whole. Just this one replacement. So 3 months into owning this car, I think it was November, I bought this late August, I had oil leaking. Like none of us can figure it out. There was no engine light, there was no lights or anything. So one day my friend was like, "You're leaking oil pretty bad," and it was coming from the back. So once we figured that out, we immediately took it into Mercedes-Benz, and they diagnosed it as a complete transmission failure. And they quoted me on the phone. I remember this phone call. They quoted me at $16,800 to replace it. And they were so nonchalant about it. They're like, "Yeah, so you're going to need a completely new transmission. It's going to be $16,800. How did you want to pay for it?" And I was just like, what the heck? Like, so I immediately hung up. I went over there and I was like, this is like ridiculous. I literally bought this car less than, I think it was actually 60 days since buying that car. I was like, there's no way that I have to replace this entire transmission. I haven't even driven it more than 1,000 miles at the time. So I took it to a different Mercedes, the Mercedes I actually bought it from, and they were way more helpful than the Mercedes of Gilbert, Arizona. The Gilbert, Arizona one was just, anyways, it's a whole different story. But they ended up actually warrantying this transmission, and they gave it to me absolutely free. They didn't even charge me for any service. They didn't charge me for taxes, labor, nothing. Everything was included. I literally walked out 1 week later after dropping it off. They even washed my car for me, and they gave me a completely new transmission, which was just basically made my entire year. Because after paying $77,000, I did not want to pay another $17,000 out of pocket for this car. So I still look at this as an expense because I got very fortunate with the whole situation. If they weren't able to warranty, or if they didn't grant the warranty, then it would have been a huge problem for me, and I probably would have honestly had sold this car way before. But yeah, I just wanted to make you guys aware of it. And GTSs, my roommate had one, and he actually had the same exact, he had like a drive shaft problem, I think. So they're like, these GTSs are well known for having some transmission problems. Mine was obviously, or is, a 5-year-old car with, at the time, about 31,000 miles on it. So just to kind of let you guys know of that, that was crazy to me. And like I said, I never owned a car worth more than this transmission alone. So it was definitely eye-opening for me, for sure. And realizing like, wow, like some of these expenses on these higher end cars cost you quite a bit, and you have to be aware of that if you guys are going to go to these high-end supercars or sports cars. And then recently I cracked my windshield. This is just a quote because I actually haven't replaced it yet, but since it has sensors in the window, you have to like calibrate it, and it was $1,500 quote that I got. So I did include that because at some point I'm going to have to replace it, especially if I go to sell it, and it is cracking a little bit more right now. So in total, if I had to pay for this transmission, I'd be out of pocket $21,000 on top of actually buying the car, and on top of my monthly expenses of about $1,100. Now, some of the biggest issues that I've had with this car. I'm being extremely picky. I haven't had a lot of like big issues with this car besides the actual transmission itself. But just to kind of like name a few things, I've had this like faulty tire pressure light where the tire pressure light will come on about once every couple months. No weather changes, nothing like that. Everything's perfectly fine. I think it's just a faulty pressure light. So I'll get like a notification on my little dash, which kind of gets in the way. So I always have to click out of it right away whenever I turn on the car. And then it obviously has that tire pressure light on. The cup holders are extremely small. You can't fit any, you can fit a water bottle in there, but anything bigger than that, it actually won't fit in the cup holder. So a lot of the times I'm stuck holding my drink. And then if you have 2 drinks in there at one time, the cup holders are so close to each other, it's not really practical to have that. One of them's always like kind of tilted out, which has caused a little bit of spillage. But like I said, that's just being very picky. The collision prevention assist beeping button goes off randomly. At least once a day it'll go off for no reason. One of the, actually, this was kind of I noticed this right away too, and I watched another video on GTSs and they had the same situation. The steering wheel, it's Alcantara steering wheel, and I've owned the car for a year and it has pretty bad wear and tear. You can like really tell where my hands always are on the car. It's I'm obviously probably having B-roll go over it right now, but that's a little bit frustrating. I don't know if it's something that they can take care of or someone can like kind of clean that up a little bit, but you can definitely have wear and tear on that steering wheel. I wouldn't say it's the best daily driver. It's not very practical. It's not the most comfortable car from driving around back and forth quite a bit. Like if you're in that car for more than like a 30-minute drive, it can hurt your lower back a little bit. It does have ample trunk space, but besides that, I'd definitely rather drive around a Tesla Model 3 as my daily driver. But this car is so much fun to drive besides that. Now on to my favorite parts about this car. Number one thing, the wow factor. Every single time, no matter how much I drive this car, I'm excited to drive it. I'm excited to get in. And pretty much every single time, even if I'm going to the grocery store, I will get some sort of compliments on the car. Most of the time, it's when I'm in a parking lot, either getting in or out of my car, whether it be the gym, the grocery store. I always get people commenting saying, nice car, or what kind of car it is. Because it's not a very popular car. Like a lot of people don't know what it is. They know it's a Mercedes, but then they also think it's way more expensive than what I actually bought it for. Every single person's like, you got that for under $100,000. So for me, that wow factor is like the best part. I feel like for the price that I bought it at, for the amount of people and the amount of heads it turns, is just well worth it. Even when I'm driving, people will roll down their windows and they say, nice car, what it is, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great conversation starter as well. And then obviously it's a freaking fun car to drive. The sound of it, this is probably one of the best sounding cars as well. It just sounds so aggressive, so mean. This car is completely stock. I didn't do anything whatsoever to the engine or any performance things. I did add tint. I added a rear wing to it, carbon fiber wing. Interior design, all carbon. I love obviously the interior of Mercedes-Benz. Alcantara seats, all the accents are carbon fiber. It's just really, really well done. It does not look like a 2016 model. It looks way newer. And that's another thing. A lot of people are like, this car's 5 years old. Everyone thinks it's like brand new, which is obviously awesome to hear. I love the just overall style of the car, the really long hood. I get questions of people asking me if it's harder to drive because of the hood so long. I've never had any issues. Even when I first got the car, it's not a problem whatsoever. You have a lot of parking sensors too, so there's no problem with that. And then the wing of this car, I originally bought the car obviously with no wing, and I did not like the style of the back end. I just think it needed something to kind of like cap it off. So adding that wing there was a $2,500 upgrade. It did everything like that. I think it rounded out the car perfectly. Driving modes. So this has comfort mode, sport. You can go to sport plus mode, which actually engages the exhaust sound. And then you can go to race mode, which basically takes off traction control and you will spin out a lot of the times if you're going from a dead stop. The backup camera is really good. Not that that really matters. I love the backup camera compared to some of the other cars. I drove my friend's old Lamborghini and that backup camera is a piece of crap. So compared to this one's so much better, and they actually took their time to make a good backup camera even for a 2016 model. Minimal lag. I'm talking about performance. Like when you step on the gas in race mode, you almost get immediate response, and it's just it's such a quick car, guys, which leads me to the performance of this car. It is such a fast car. I've driven quite a bit of supercars that haven't been mine. I've driven McLaren 720, Lamborghini Huracan. I've driven the Ferrari 488, the Porsche GT3 RS. I've driven all those, and for the price of this car, it keeps up with a lot of those. Not the McLaren. The McLaren by far was like, that gave me a different feeling in my stomach. But all the other cars, like, it gets really, really good performance for that price point, and it has a very good top speed. Like I said in a previous video, the best performance in this car, I think, is like when you're going onto an on-ramp, like at a 60 mile per hour roll, it can get 60 to 120 extremely fast. It's not the best car 0 to 60 because it will peel out. The sound system is the best I've ever heard in any sort of car. Even those other supercars that I've had, it's incredible. It's very, very loud as well. And then obviously the trunk space is one of the best parts as well. You cannot fit a suitcase in there. The depth and the width of the trunk space is really good, but the height of it's horrible. So you can't really fit like a huge suitcase in there, but you can fit quite a bit of backpacks. And as long as everything's flat, you can fit a lot of stuff in there. There's no frunk or anything like that, so you are pretty limited. If you have some sort of like taller object, you can't fit it in there whatsoever. Overall though, that is my 1 year review on it. Do I regret anything whatsoever? No. I probably would have different feelings if I did have to pay for that transmission, absolutely, because I'd be at another $17,000. But I do not regret buying this car. I fell in love with it. The day I bought it, and I still love driving this every single day. I am gonna miss, if I do sell it, I will miss it for sure, but I just know long term and from an investment standpoint, it's smart for me to list this car, so that's why I'm doing it. I've owned it for a year. I feel like I've owned it long enough. I've driven it enough. I've driven it over 10,000 miles in that 1 year. So yeah, that's it. If you guys have any questions, or if I missed everything, or if I missed anything and you guys want me to make a separate video on it, comment down below. If you guys are interested in purchasing or selling real estate in the Arizona area, I am a licensed real estate agent out here. I love to work with you guys. All my information is down below, as well as my Instagram and my TikTok. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.